2022. My name is Joe Costello, joined by Lake Speed Jr. and Ben Strader from EFI University. We drafted Ben here into our morning conversation because we have got a big day, a final day that will conclude with a big dyno test and the reveal.
It's going to be pretty exciting.
The power number. Now, Lake yesterday was talking a little bit about, like, I ruined it, I picked up the fuel, I did this, I did that. But I'm excited about this. Like, this whole process that has been going, building an engine, getting the parts, going through the process, it's going to culminate with some detail that involves a dyno.
Well, I think if anything, the lesson from this whole project, like, because there's very little things that can get screwed up that with a little patience we can't fix, right? So
exactly.
He didn't screw it up. He's just taking it on the chin. But the reality is,
deprecating humor.
Yeah. It was. We worked through all those little things, and it was great. The engine was perfect on the dyno. No issues. You know, it wasn't like your typical leaks and no oil pressure things. We didn't have any of those issues.
Or maybe we did, and that's why you got to stick around to watch.
I'm just building up to it, right? Yeah.
But a little recap of yesterday. We came in and really feeling positive about it. What a great day. So much information shared, nuggets of information. You're going to want to go back and watch if you didn't see yesterday's content live. And that's the whole point of this. It will be available for everybody.
That's the beautiful part, right? I mean, like, literally today, later today, if you wanted to, you could go back and watch yesterday's, because it's there in the player. If you're logged in, you can see this. You can see all of the day yesterday. And I woke up this morning and I'm like, man, I feel like George Bailey. It's like, you know, all these people came, and you came across the country. I mean, everybody came and contributed so much of their time and energy and effort to make this possible. It's like, man, it's a wonderful life.
Well,
it's a great deal.
The people that came and participated yesterday and today in this, we all have a common goal, right? We're trying to elevate the whole level of the industry. And so much of the value, Joe, yesterday was in that roundtable, right? So the filmed and sort of scripted parts that we had were amazing, and they're chocked full of content that people can get over and over and over again. But I think the unexpected value from yesterday came in the unscripted conversations. You know, little things that bombs would drop out, and you go, whoa, back up a second. Like, you know what I mean? That was amazing. I think yesterday was great. Today's going to be over the top.
Because there's a bunch more roundtables, right? Back to we listened to the feedback from the previous episodes and said, all right, let's add more roundtables, and you're putting people together that have never met each other. So there's that, again, that powerful, unscripted, just organic, spontaneous conversation. I mean, it was great, man.
Did your sponge get full yesterday? You were just like soaking stuff up like by the
My sponge is full. But we rang it out, and I'm ready to go again. I'm ready to go
there's some big stuff coming today. A little bit later this morning, Gary Stinnett is going to be here with a brand new thing.
On that note, well, exactly. Engine Performance Expo. This thing is relatively new. This is our third one. And what we are doing, and most importantly, who's watching? Like, who's watching this stuff? It's the people who have a desire for the most cutting edge knowledge that are already in the industry, that are trying to better themselves. And well, Gary recognized that. Steve Williams, they got 5 Super Comp World Championships in the NHRA. Between the two of them, they recognized a problem and created a solution, and they want to debut it right here at Engine Performance Expo because they know who's watching.
Well, think about it. Yesterday we debuted the power ring filer that uses your cordless drill for Summit yesterday. Now today we've got Gary and Steve debuting a new problem. This is it, right? This is the pinnacle of engine performance. That's why it's the Engine Performance Expo. And we got the top talent and the top new products coming out.
It's not even just the access to the people, right? But now it's the access to the literally first reveal of products. Like, you talk about cutting edge and being at the pointy end of the sword. This is it. Like, today is the first time anyone will ever know about this product that those guys are talking about. What an awesome deal to be a part of.
And a little behind the scenes on it without revealing. You got to stick around. They're going to be up not long from now, so stay with us. But like, what is the product? Like, I didn't even know what the product was, right?
Until like an hour ago,
Until
right? Like,
an hour ago at breakfast, I cornered him. And, and Lake got to know, and he's like, when you find out, your mind's going to explode.
He's been dangling this carrot for several days.
My mind is going to explode because this is something that even I have been thinking about, right? Like, what do I do? And they have solved the problem. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. And that's just part of it.
Way to build anticipation, Joe. That was pro right there. Like, now they're stuck to their screens,
around.
right?
You would hope You would hope, but it's legit. That's the thing. It's not what
for
I'm
real.
doing.
You're
It's
right.
it's a legitimate it's a legitimate deal that everyone's going to love. But we're going to have that kind of energy throughout the day, and Vic Hill's going to be here.
Yep, Vic's coming. We think Tony Bischoff's on the way, right? There's some weather going on right now in the U.S., so hopefully Tony can make it in. But yeah, Vic Hill's he's right down the road, so that's going to be great. This afternoon we're going to have a little cylinder head roundtable. Right? The guys from Brodix are here. Donnie Salmons, who worked for Joe Patel from HVH. So we're going to go a little old school again. We're down the road from Bristol. They do drag racing and oval racing there. So
They got an oval track there, really?
They do. And this little thing, it's kind of high
it was
bank.
just Thunder Valley. Oh my
Was
goodness.
there something else? Yeah, that's crazy.
That's not a fishing pond behind the track.
No, I've been there. I experienced the night race. I know what it's all about. But amazing, and this part of the country, and just the attitude and the energy that is here. Everybody's feeling it, and so hopefully you are as well out there around the world. And we had people reach out from all around the world yesterday, and want to invite you to do that again. Keep those questions, comments coming through our chat section. The chat section was burning up yesterday. People
was
from
great.
Alaska, people posting on their social media, into it, streaming the show, for classes and students, et cetera, and so on. That's what we want you to do, and we want you to be involved. So if something gets mentioned, like Ben says something that's over, my head,
Hardly.
Put it in there.
Nothing in there.
Put it in there.
But I will tell you, you're right, Joe. Like, this area is huge for the performance industry. The amount of stuff in this, like probably a 10-mile, 20-mile radius here. But we're here at the epicenter of it at Engine Performance Expo. Like, all of the heavy hitters are right here, available for these guys to go back and say, wait a minute, what did he say? And back up and watch again and again and again. Like, that's what this program is going to be about, and it's spectacular.
And today I'll end with another great roundtable discussion. And honestly, that's my favorite part, is when everybody gets together and there is a conversation with no direction.
Yeah.
Because it can go anywhere. Like, typically we're talking cylinder heads, or we're talking parts availability, or supply chain, that kind of stuff. And that's great. But when it's got, like Keith Dorton yesterday. Keith Dorton
What time yesterday? I mean, yesterday,
But
all
at the
day.
end of the day, when he said he learned something here from this.
Staggering. Just jaw-dropping. I was like, what? And he meant it, right? Like, he was legitimately saying, like, hey, man, if I stop learning, like all of us know, then you're all done. He's like, every day. And so even for somebody of that level and that caliber to go, I learned something. I literally turned my chair and I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, if he said he learned something, I can't even count the number of things I probably learned.
You're just saying that, Keith, and he's like, no, he
was
very genuine.
legit.
Very genuine.
That's what makes him one of the greats, right? Because he's been so many places and done so many things, but he has no ego about it. He's not puffing himself up. He literally said, like, this was awesome. I can't believe all the cool things I heard. And
Right. Even Mark was like, wait, he knows what this is. He's like, I didn't know they made those.
Right.
He's like, I want one of those.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I want that. So.
That's crazy. It's like, it's Mark. I mean, how does Mark not know?
And why? Right? Why? Well, my observation of people in this industry, in many ways, you're siloed because of your work.
Yeah, you have narrow focus. This is what I'm doing.
Go to the shop, go to the dyno room, call the suppliers, talk to them a little bit. But all of a sudden, you put these people together in an atmosphere that is, it's not, there's not 1,000 people here. There's just a few people. You get a chance to really connect, really talk, come up with a concept, an idea. Oh, what? You're doing that? Why are you doing that? What's the story with that? And then it bleeds over on the air.
That's why the roundtables were so popular. I mean, it was the #1 most requested thing from the last Engine Performance Expo. And lo and behold, we did more of them this time, and it's more awesome than it was before. I mean, that makes sense.
Right.
So.
But what we want you to do, though, is engineperformanceexpo.com. You can share that on your social media, those of you that
Tell
are
people about
socially connected, and let others know about it. Like, hey, information, vital information being shared here. Sign up. It's free, as you know, because you're already watching.
Well, and even though it is available later, there's nothing like getting it hot off the presses, right? So if we get the word out and people are there watching it now, they can always go back and rewatch. But getting it firsthand from the source like we're doing today, hard to replace that value.
It really is. And one thing that came out yesterday, we were having the discussions, so even some of the roundtables is like, wait, we already did a segment on this topic.
Yeah.
So if you want that deeper dive, just go to the YouTube channel and find that segment and you can watch it.
Yeah.
So we don't have to rehash everything because we're building this archive, this database of great content where we can have that higher level discussion. And if someone wants to know the backstory, well, here, go to that video, watch that segment, and you can get more of that backstory. That's a pretty incredible resource, actually.
And that's the point. It is, why are we doing this? It's creating a resource for people to reference in the future. People might go back over and over again and see those conversations about, like today we're going to do cylinder heads. Well, if you're planning a project in the future, that's something you might want to watch before you make some decisions.
Well, like Billy said yesterday, right? He can look at certain combinations that, oh, you watched too many YouTube videos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
And so often it is about that combination. And one of the things I love about like this whole program is you've done the whole thing this year, right? It wasn't just, here we got all these parts, but we showed the machining, we showed the assembly. And now, Joe, we're going to talk about the rest of the puzzle, which is we got an engine, but we got to make it run.
Yep.
So that means we got to go look at the EFI and the installation and the dyno tuning and all that, which is where we're going next.
That's where we're going next. Yesterday we saw him do a short block and put it all together, but now it's like go time, right?
Yep.
This is where you get excited.
No pressure.
Well, yep, you're here, so I'm assuming it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't have showed up if we blew it up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the new one.
That's the new one. That's the new one.
If it blows up, I ain't showing up.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Put it on the shirt.
Exactly.
Put it on the shirt. So let's hit it. Starting us off, EFI, the big install on the LS engine. A little more of these two guys, and the project advances. Check it out.
All right, Engine Performance Expo viewers, last time you saw me and our engine down here, it was at Jimmy's and it wasn't finished yet.
So now we're in Arizona. It came all the way from North Carolina.
Yes.
And, well,
1 week.
Literally 1 week. I remember you called me and said it was on the way, and I thought, yeah, sure it is. And sure enough, showed up exactly when it's supposed to. So now everybody's done their job. It's time for us to do our job.
Right.
So what are we going to be doing with this thing? And by the way, what's different now than when the last time these guys saw the engine?
Okay, so a couple of differences. So one, we're going to start off with the head gasket. We had the proper size head gaskets, but we realized this is not a GM block. I mean, it's a GM layout, but it's actually a Dart LS next block. So it actually has additional studs so you have better bolting force so that we can put more boost to it at some point.
So this is known as a 6-bolt pattern instead of the normal 4 bolts per head on a normal stock GM. So,
right.
So the advantage of that is that when you have higher cylinder pressures, we get more clamping force. So there's an extra bolt at the outside of the block down here, and an extra one like those guys might be familiar with the big block Chevy that goes down.
Yep.
So the problem is with this head gasket, while it would seal the cylinders, you would be clamping bolts down out here with no gasket underneath them.
Right.
That's just not going to work.
Don't do that, right? So it's like, if we're going to actually utilize what's actually here, we needed some different gaskets. Fortunately, the guys at Ilmore, who we happen to know pretty well, because we're all in the same circles between Total Seal and Ilmore, people like that.
Sure.
They actually had some gaskets for this exact engine for our bore size.
Boy,
that would fit. Oh, man, they overnighted them. Everything was good. So we went ahead and did the work we needed to do to make sure we could use those gaskets. The other thing we talked about, too, was we were originally working from the stock cast rocker. Now, it had been rim polished and upgraded with the bushing and all that.
Trunnion upgrades, sure. Yep.
But the trick was, we got about 670 pounds open valve spring pressure here.
Okay.
Didn't want to take the risk.
Sure.
So
didn't need to find out the hard way that was
No. So fortunately, the guys at Harlan Sharp actually had some rockers that would fit this. Now, it took some modification. Now, Jimmy, Barton, and David Lewis, and all the guys over at Yates, they went above and beyond on this project to help us out. There was a lot of chips made to get this thing to fit together the way it did. And Jimmy really went the extra mile.
So let's talk about for just a second. One thing that a lot of people may not realize of what's different on some of these cylinder heads that are out there, the various brands, when they talk about a small bore or a medium bore or a large bore, what's actually changing in the cylinder head that makes one for that type of engine?
That's a great question because I had no idea, right? And see, me being not the LS guy, even though my initials are RLS, you'd think I should know these things, but I didn't. Yeah, so when you have a bigger bore, now you have more room to move the valve.
That's correct.
So you can get rid of some shrouding, you can do some things, run a bigger size valve. So with these particular heads, because it's a 155 bore, these heads had the valve moved over.
That's right.
So now you had to have a rocker assembly that will actually fit that relocated valve.
Doesn't do us any good if the rocker arm bolts to the head, but it doesn't line up with the valve stem.
No.
So you do have to be careful that you get the right rocker arm for the valve layout of that cylinder head. That's why there's so many different combinations out there, and why you can't just buy rockers and bolt them on and they always work.
Right. We were extremely fortunate. The guys at Harlan Sharp actually had some of these on the shelf, and they were able to ship them to us. And it took some modification because the height of that stand is different. Of course, Jimmy having his shop, he's got a Bridgeport, so
Start making more chips.
Made some more chips and machined it at the right height. We fit up some push rods using an adjustable push rod. We fit it all up. Fortunately, the guys over at SRI Performance in North Carolina, it's pretty lucky we were in Mooresville. So there's a lot of parts and pieces, a lot of people there that know what they're doing. So we were able to get everything together at the last minute and make this. It was kind of neat. I kind of like this little dowel pin arrangement they have between the two rockers to hold it together. So
yeah, we'll have to give some close-ups in there when we get in there on the dyno or whatever. It's an interesting arrangement. I hadn't actually seen that before, but
I hadn't either. We had no idea. We looked at the thing, we're like, what are we doing with this? And then we figured it out, and so at this point,
it's laid out more like a traditional rocker.
It is.
Except there's nothing, if you just bolted the single stud down, there's nothing to keep the rocker from turning.
Right.
So by putting that pin and locking them together, they've accomplished that. So that's interesting. I guess we'll find out on the dyno how they work.
We'll find out, right? Yeah. So I guess at this point we need to go ahead and start bolting on the manifold. And of course, this is
tall deck.
So we got the adapter from CBM. Those guys helped us out with that. So we got an adapter. We got a manifold. We got a lot of work to do.
We do have a ton of work to do to get this thing running by the end of the week, but I think we'll make it.
All right. So we better shut up, stop talking, get to work.
Here we go.
Okay, so last time you saw us, this thing was, well, not this far together, and it was sitting on the floor out there, and now this big monster thing I'm hiding behind is here. So
yeah, so it was basically a short lock the other day, right? And, we were struggling to get the manifold to fit, but now that was all done, here we are on the dyno.
Yeah, high rim manifold, short guy. I am back here, by the way.
So, these are really great manifolds, by the way. They come in a million different configurations for, cathedral ports, square ports, Fords,
Really?
Yeah, you get different tops for them. You can get them with carburetor or...
Well, yeah, I saw the one under the bench for the dual dominators.
So Holly knocked it out of the park because it's so flexible. It works for so many applications. And like runner-wise, it's set up for that sweet spot, kind of like 3,500 to 7,500 RPM.
Okay.
But they left a ton of meat if a guy wants to go in and port them, and you can get them up to 8,500 or more, So I'm not saying I've ever done any high RPM stuff, but if a guy wanted to.
A guy maybe.
Yeah. All right. So really, really nice once we got the bolt holes lined up and fit. It was a pretty sweet piece.
Right. It'll have a little bit of work to do there.
Sure, but I mean, that's normal.
Yeah, exactly. So everything's fit together. So we went ahead and put the EFI system on. So talk about a little bit what it took to get this system hooked up.
Sure thing. Pretty easy on the engine dyno. Sometimes it's a little more difficult in the vehicle because you're trying to route the wiring nicely and all that. And so everything's kind of out in the open and exposed for us here. But with your Holley setup, it's pretty simple because they make harnesses that are specific to engine types, right? So you don't have to like wire by wire. There's basically like 3 different parts of the harness. So you have your Dominator ECU up here that I hang from the ceiling because it's easier for me to route stuff without it falling on the headers and burning, right? But what you end up with is your main power harness. This is the one that needs to go directly to the battery. No stopping, don't pass go, don't collect $200. It needs to go straight to the battery. And that brings the power that supplies everything the ECU needs to control, right?
Okay.
On the other side, you have what we call the main harness or the engine harness. And these are specific for each make and model. So LS1 has a different harness than say LS2 or 3,
Okay.
or Ford or Gen 3 Hemi.
Right.
But what's nice about it is when you get it, you literally click, plug it in. All the sensors are already in the correct location. So crank sensor, cam sensor, TPS,
Right.
just plugs in. Super.
You're not having to go put all that together and figure out where it goes.
Not at all. They even lay in the correct location on the engine relative to where the stock sensors would be. So, so that's great. The last part is the injector harness, because there are different types of injectors with connectors. You have the older, style, or the LK1 style, or the newer US car style. So once you order your injector harness, plug it into your injectors, you plug that into your harness, and the last thing to do is hook up your ignition. In our case, it's LS, so it's just 2 coil connector plugs that go on the stock GM locations, and boom, we were ready to go. All I had to do was go in there and write the program then to tell it what kind of engine we had, and how many injectors and how much they flowed, and that was all pretty straightforward. So pretty much just plugged right in and ran. We had 2 wires that we actually had to set up. So we have a 12-volt switched ignition source, which I get from my dyno panel, a ground, and then don't forget to ground the back of the cylinder heads for the ignition coils.
Yep.
So really pretty straightforward, easy.
And there's one for each pack, right? Or each set.
Each side of the engine. Yep. So 4 coils over there, 4 coils over here, grounded to the cylinder heads, easy peasy.
Awesome. So one extra thing we did, just because even though we're not using it yet, we went ahead just to make sure that all this stuff would fit on here. The big old monster Procharger. There's no belt hooked up on this thing, but it is here just to make sure it was fitted up correctly.
Yeah, what we decided was we were going to break in the engine naturally aspirated. So we started.
That's why we're configured this way, no belt and all this. So we wanted to do the break-in NA.
It would just make it a lot easier for the tuning aspect to do it without dealing with the boost as well. So what we didn't want to do is get to the end of our break-in session and go, okay, let's add some boost, to find out that something needed to be adjusted or ground or filed or fitted or whatever. So this way, we haven't used it yet, but we know it fits and it's going to work.
Exactly. Well, I've said it before, this Supercharger, because it keeps looking like a turbo from this side, but I know it's really a Supercharger. This is bigger than one of our go-kart motors. This thing's massive. This is giant. So, but I guess it's going to make a lot of power too, though. So.
It does put out a tremendous amount of airflow, right? So that's the goal of what the Supercharger is. That thing's going to put out more airflow than what the engine could take in all by itself, and so it boosts the performance of the engine. That's where the term boost comes from.
Right.
And so that thing needs to be big so that it'll put out a ton of airflow. And by the way, the reason it looks so much like a turbocharger is because it's effectively half of a turbocharger. That is really a centrifugal compressor. It just happens to be driven by a gear system and a belt. With your turbocharger, it would be driven by a turbine and exhaust gas, but for the most part, that's the same thing you would have on your turbo, so it makes sense that it would look the same.
So it's like the Race Engine Technology magazine, they always say it's a turbo supercharger.
Correct.
This is what this is.
That's exactly what you have there. So now we can change the speed though by swapping pulleys out and adjusting how fast that thing's turning relative to the engine speed, so that we can get more boost or less boost depending on what we decide to get. So that'll be interesting as we go along and see what we get with those combinations and then play around with it. We have a few different pulley sizes they sent us to mess with, so that should be
We do have a couple of them, so
yeah, should be cool.
We started off with the bigger one first, but I'm pretty sure we're going to go the smaller one.
I mean, you got a smaller one, why would you not? Right?
Right? You got to try to make some power out of this thing.
That's right.
So anyway, you mentioned break-in, so what we'll do is we'll come back on another video in a little while and talk a little bit about that break-in process. There's a thing behind my head even that we'll explain what that is and what it's for. So hope you enjoyed this section. We'll come back later and we'll talk a little bit more about the break-in process.
Sounds like fun.
What a day, what a day, what a day. My brain is swollen. I've learned so much today. They told us, don't start cars. We are not going to listen.